shut up, you listen to my monkey mouth. There's a companion when you got pun on the canoa route. Hopped in a portal and got in a fight, Elias knocked him out. Bow, Naruto fighting style. Bow, UFC he tapped out. Bow, we win, we get crowned. Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.
All right, welcome to SUYL. I got a guest in the studio. Go ahead and give me your name.
I am Jason Hennington.
All right, Mr. Hennington. So you're a jack of all trades, but not a master in none. You got masters in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You're a rapper.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
You're a politician. Kind of. You're in the political realm.
I guess you could say that
Yeah.
with what I do.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you're a politician, but you work around political stuff.
Yeah, I politic with people.
Yeah, you politic with people. There you go. So you politic, and you work for the
Taylor Press.
The Taylor Press. I knew you did. I just wanted to make sure. So
yeah.
So so it's been an interesting last 2 weeks or so with the Taylor community. We've been in the Washington Post. We've been in all over the news, and it stems from what they call the Tale of Two Parades, right?
Right.
So the Tale of Two Parades is essentially, you go ahead and take it off from there.
So basically, what it is you have the annual Christmas parade of lights that's normally coordinated by the Taylor Area Ministerial Alliance.
Yes.
So last year they had Taylor Pride had a float.
Yes.
And they had some drag queens.
They had some drag queens in there.
Right.
Yeah.
And drag queens, and then they had a guy that had on a cutoff shirt.
Okay.
So there was some controversy about that.
Yeah, but it seemed that had gotten some spin to it. There had been some spin.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the spin essentially equated to pole dancing.
Yeah.
And some other silliness. We won't get into all of it because I don't quite know all of it, and I won't put you in the predicament to say all of it.
Right.
But essentially, it began where it always begins when stuff like this pops off, is on Facebook, right?
Right.
And it ended up dragging some people, some people who I actually care about and are my friends,
Okay.
and people that I love. It ended up dragging their names kind of in the mud. I know that there was some mudslinging, and they had to basically, explain themselves for no particular reason,
Right.
But nonetheless, I think that they were very classy,
right,
in their explanation, and they also brought necessary evidence to contradict any of the matters at hand, right?
Right. And I think in my opinion, I really think it all started out as a misunderstanding.
Yeah. I mean, most things do, right?
Yeah.
My thing is that I'll always say this, and it's probably not the first or last podcast that I'll say this, is that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Right.
And you may have the best of intentions for anything, whether it's the LGBTQ plus community, or whether it's Christian rights,
right,
or whether you're just neutral. Neutrality is a dangerous way to live. I live in a neutral realm, which can essentially equate to when you live in neutrality, a lot of people don't know where you lie.
Right.
And it can be dangerous, but for the most part, I must say that my neutrality only comes from the fact that I think people know where I morally stand and where basically my friends are.
Right.
And they aren't politically aligned with one particular side.
Right.
And
I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah.
As far as
I think you have to be, because you're also
because I'm also
with the newspaper, and me being in SUYL and trying to do a podcast. Neutrality, like I said, can seem a little bit inconsiderate.
Right.
But for the most part, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get both sides of the story, even if you don't agree with it. Right. At a particular time and space, when I was at the LGBTQ plus, it was the event. I don't know what you wanted to call it.
The Pride
event. Yeah, the Pride event. Yeah, the Pride Day. Thank you.
Yeah.
I ended up interviewing Mr. Joel Webbin.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one who was protesting the event. And what I could tell people is that he was honest in his convictions.
Right.
He was a charismatic individual. and he seemed to believe in what he was saying.
Right.
Now, there's another gentleman out there who runs a particular church with who seems to have a family, who seems to be a family in this particular church. I also spoke with his son. I don't particularly know his last name. I know that it's important to know.
And I know the last name if that's what
if you would be so kind to say it. Ripple. Yes, thank you. I spoke with the Ripples, and the vitriol and kind of unwarranted anger that he was speaking made everything that he had told me unusable in SUYL.
Okay.
It takes nothing away from him in his beliefs or who he is as a man. He'll settle that with his creator.
Right.
To me, I was there to get to a point where I could find out where each person stood. I particularly didn't want anything to do with where Mr. Ripple stood. Any of them.
Okay.
I could respect and understand where Mr. Webben was coming from. I think he came, like I said, with honest conviction.
Right.
And he loved the people that he was essentially saying he loved the people that he was trying to save.
Right.
There was no love in Mr. Webben's heart. And that's a dark place to live.
Right.
You know?
Right.
No offense to Mr. Webben. I mean Mr. Ripple. If Mr. Ripple wants to converse with me on these matters and show me that he actually has a loving heart that is truly what Christians are supposed to believe, then maybe we can come to an understanding. But when I speak to a gentleman like that, or I speak to a family member, and I see what I can only express as venom in the words. But then I can talk to someone like Mr. Joel Webben, and I can see why people would want to be in the what is that called, where you kind of circle around a universe? What is that called?
I don't want to say multiverse, but
well, essentially, the universe. They want to circle around. They want to be around Mr. Webben because he essentially has the charismatic behavior to bring people together and make them feel like they're being understood, and that if you don't quite, not knowing people and not knowing fears is a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So you were at a particular meeting today that was going to make it so that these particular people wouldn't have to deal with each other anymore, but it essentially pushed out the Christians that were essentially bankrolling the parade.
Right. So actually, no action was actually taken. The agenda item was tabled.
Yeah, it was tabled. Okay, so that means that essentially at this point it's just on the docket to be discussed.
Right, to be discussed. And it's, there's a lot of people saying that the city is trying to ban Christianity.
I honestly think that it's easy for people to go to the 11, right?
Yeah.
Instead of understanding that it's probably about a 5.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the issue.
Yeah.
Because if you have one particular group that comes out and says that, whether it's true or not, they come out and say that, then everything is going to get elevated on.
Yeah, and I think it's best said, right? The news comes out and the retraction is always smaller than the the retraction or the fact is always smaller than the lie that basically had to, cause that retraction. So at any given point, we have values clashing, and we have the last gasp of what essentially equates to Old Taylor.
Yeah, and I actually wrote my column about that this week. In the paper, and it is, Taylor was divided by 2 parades.
Yeah,
but this wasn't about, the Ministerial Alliance versus Pride.
Yeah,
this wasn't about the city versus the Ministerial Alliance. There's a bigger issue, and it really comes down to old Taylor versus new Taylor.
You know what's funny though? I carry myself very, very Caucasian in nature.
Okay.
I will admit to that myself. Okay. Most of my friends were white. I grew up in a town where we only graduated 2 black people.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that they weren't my friends, but that's literally the only 2 black people in school. So and most of the things I like are very white culture. They're very whitewashed. Okay. I do love my Mexican. I do love my Hispanic culture. I love, whether it's the food or the music or any of that stuff. I do love that, but essentially that culture, you have to seek it out.
Yeah.
Where the culture of like, just everyday Americana is just readily available.
Right.
So I find myself to be more, like I said, I find myself to be more in this Caucasian kind of like Americana sensibility.
Okay.
And I think everybody is, but I always joke that people call me a coconut because I'm Hispanic, but I act very Caucasian. Whatever you want to say. And so I'm able to talk to people. So I when I was working with this gentleman, he was kind enough to hire me,
Okay.
But through the entire time he's listening to Rush Limbaugh, and I'm listening to the vitriol and anger against blacks and the anchor babies and Condoleezza Rice and Obama, and whatever he used to call Democrats or whatever. Mm-hmm. But to say that man hated me, I don't particularly know. I mean, he was kind enough to give me a job. He was paying me every day. We just didn't have the same political views.
Right.
But I'm also 35, so maybe we we just didn't speak up. Maybe that was a part of the problem too. We just didn't voice our opinion. We just kind of did our job. I just kind of worked. I didn't really care what he was listening to. I also wasn't his friend. I wasn't trying to find common ground with this gentleman.
Right.
But I also tell people that there's people that I love, but there's people that I know as well, and they're 2 different species, and it's very hard to coexist with, and have these 2 people coexist when they'll never find a common ground. They'll never find a common ground, and they live in 2 completely different worlds.
Yeah, and I can say that's one of the unique things about Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Even with all of this that's happening now.
Yeah.
We have to live together.
Yeah, because it's such a small town.
Yeah, you're
gonna see the person you were talking trash about on Facebook at the HEB,
right,
or the Walmart.
Yeah, I was actually at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that came up, we were the only newspaper represented in a small town, and I said, politics, we have to deal with that, but at the same time, I sit on a board where there's a candidate, there's a Republican candidate,
mm-hmm.
and their opponent,
mm-hmm.
and they're both on the same board.
Yeah.
And it's like, in a small town, that happens.
But the funny thing is that even in this small town, it's fun. I mean, we're in the same situation, but with different colors.
Yeah,
I
agree with you.
So instead of fighting blacks and Hispanics to have equal rights, we're fighting an entire rainbow coalition. They're fighting the whole rainbow coalition to have some semblance of rights. Now, whether I agree that they do or don't have rights, I always say that I'm an advocate. I don't particularly know what they're lacking or gaining in any particular situation.
Okay.
But at a certain point, when my dad was the same age as I was, or when my dad was younger than me, when he was like, let's say 17 to 35, or 17 to like 25. When he was in Granger, they had to use the back door.
Right.
Because they didn't allow Mexicans to go in through the front. They didn't allow black people to go in the front.
Right.
Taylor Cafe. As much as people like to say that they miss Taylor Cafe, there was a long time where that was 50-50. That meant that white people sit on one side, black people sit on the other.
And it's interesting you say that because all the way up until it closed.
Yeah.
When people went in.
Yeah, they abided by an unspoken rule.
Yeah.
Unspoken rule.
Right. I actually took a friend of mine in there.
Yeah.
And we went in there and he was like, let's sit on this side. And I was like, no, that's not really allowed.
Yeah.
And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, it's okay for us to sit there.
Yeah.
But that's not really how things work in here.
Yeah.
That's, it became.
You can do it.
Yeah.
But it's Pavlovian and disgusting, but it's there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it is. I mean, it's
people just it came routine.
Yeah.
And people accepted it.
Yeah.
And
it also came routine because the food was good.
Yeah, exactly. and it got to a point to where you go in there and you notice it, but you don't think anything about it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is Taylor. We know what this used to be.
Yeah.
Let's just go in and get us something to eat.
And the thing is that a lot of people don't like to admit it, or a lot of people just like to forget about it, or just pretend like it's not there. But they're also not in the necessary. They're not in the minority that these rules are applying to.
Right.
So to them, they're thinking, well, this is just silly. I can sit over here. Why can't you?
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, it's not that I can't. It's that this is the social norm that we've kind of just, like I said, we stayed quiet about it. That's the good intention. That good intention was directly in, one of the many bricks that was going to lead to a road to hell.
Right.
Because it's not fair to anybody else. It's not fair to the next generation or the generation after that.
That's coming up.
Coming up, and especially whenever in any one of those probably people who still kept the divided line were probably had mixed family members. It's kind of hard to step away from that now. It's kind of hard to not have different cultures in your family. It doesn't stay homogenized anymore. Everybody loves everybody. Yeah. So to think that you could bring somebody in there and that be a restaurant that you're a part of, but still have this unspoken rule, it's just kind of strange.
And what's crazy about it, I'm 41 years old. This was this was maybe about 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And when that restaurant was segregated like that, I had never been in there. I wasn't even born.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? I mean, we weren't around, right?
Yeah.
We weren't born. Yeah.
But going in there, I know. It's like, this is what it's always been.
Yeah.
This is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And like you said, we just didn't speak up.
Yeah.
It was an unwritten rule, and we just kind of abided by it. So, yeah, I totally understand.
And now, maybe it's a better quality than we have. Maybe, I mean, I'm an older man now. I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm also not in my teens, so I really don't have the fight in me. Yeah. I don't. It's not that I don't want to. I just don't. I'm not in a relationship. I'm a straight cis Hispanic male who have my own things to deal with. I have my own particular problems, and like I said, I can be an advocate. And I have people that I love that are trans, that are gay, that are part of the community.
Right.
And the best thing that I can do is be an advocate, vote correctly, make sure that my voice is heard in making sure that their rights are respected.
Right.
But they have to also understand that, they're stepping in a field, and they're also going leaps and bounds over people who they've stepped leaps and bounds over people who've been waiting for their rights to be heard for a lot longer.
Yeah.
They've been fast tracked, they've been picked up, but it also is because it doesn't stay within a single race.
Right.
So that kind of helps.
Yeah.
Not only white people are gay, not only white people are trans. This circumvents all colors.
Anybody.
Yeah, all races, all colors, all creed. So it kind of gives them the opportunity to have maybe a little bit more of a voice, maybe, and also they're a little bit more organized than we are.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the ability to, have the LGBTQ plus, community to, and have advocates like us, like me, like you, who are willing to put our necks out and maybe say
and speak up
speak up for them. And maybe that's just because we didn't speak up for our injustices at any given point,
right?
And now we have family and friends, and I want my nephews to be better than me. Right. I want them to be more PC than me. I want them to be more understanding than I am. Yeah, it gets a little frustrated when they correct me.
Yeah, I know.
But I'd prefer that they correct me, educate me, make sure that I'm becoming a better person, because that's how we do it. We do it through the youth and through them making sure that they're checking us. Because I mean, like I said, I have family and friends that are trans, and I slip up. Right. I dead name them. I misgender them, but it's through ignorance more than it's through malicious intent.
Yeah, it's not anything you're intending to.
Yeah, exactly.
it's a culture that we all have to get used to.
Yeah, exactly.
And I hear people all the time, well, we shouldn't have to get used to that.
Well, I mean, the thing is that whether you feel like you shouldn't have to get used to it or not, it's here.
Yeah. It's a part of the culture now.
Yeah.
It's a part of the world. It's
always been here.
Yeah.
Whether you want to pretend or not, it's always been here.
Right.
It's just social media and certain things allow people to navigate in these groups that are able to give them voices that they didn't have before. And like I said, maybe it's a little bit of our fault that we're not exactly as vocal as we should be.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming us, but I'm saying that like there's power in numbers.
Yeah.
And
I will go as far to say this. I have all of the social media platforms.
Yeah.
And I have them to keep in touch with friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I use it for work, but social media could be called possibly the worst thing to happen to the human race.
It's definitely another brick in the road to hell that was paved with intentions that were set to be in a positive way.
Right.
I mean, and to think that in any individual case that somehow social media is bad, it's just that it's being used. It's much like voting, or much like anything.
Yeah.
It gives everyone an opportunity to make sure that their opinions are being heard. My voice on social media has just as much power as your voice on social media.
Right.
But if we have enough people in a cluster that believe what I believe, then essentially maybe the power tilts in my way.
Right.
So I think Marvel is better and you think DC is better. And then we have a knockout, drag out, and then I start talking about things that have nothing to do with that situation.
Exactly. More and more people jump in.
And then more people jump in, and then you also have someone in there just wanting to stir the pot.
Right.
And then they talk about something that has nothing to do with the fight at all.
Yeah.
And they're just there to kind of see what the reaction is that they can get out of people, and that's what we call trolling.
Right.
But essentially, I mean,
because let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
Used the wrong way.
Yeah. It's used inconsiderately.
Yeah.
Maybe, because even in the wrong way is to say that there's a specific way of using it.
Yeah.
And there really isn't, right? But so the thing is that we were given social contracts for certain things, right?
Right.
And we abided by those social contracts on MySpace. It was kind of funny. It was very harmonious.
Right.
We abided by that social construct on Facebook, but doesn't stray away from bad things happen on Facebook. It's just that also there wasn't that much, like a lot of stuff came out later.
Right.
Whether it was alternative pop groups taking advantage of young ladies, or through MySpace, or just horrible things that were coming out on MySpace that we just didn't really think about because we were young at the time, and we followed in the social circles of our youth, and then it started to grow with us, and then we also had situations change in the way that people behave because they were able to stay what they thought was incognito, or basically they were able to hide behind some sort of
behind a computer screen.
Yeah, and they were able to say, it's very easy for a person to hide behind a white cloak and drag a man behind a horse because no one knows who he is. Right. Just like it's just as easy to drag someone digitally behind a cable of wires. Yeah. And make them feel bad, or make them digitally, give them just as much, we can say where hurt lies, right? Right. at any given point. And I'm not saying that one is worse than the other, but what I'm trying to say is it's easy to do these things whenever you don't know who's doing it.
Right.
You know?
And one thing I can say about social media, Facebook in particular, that's an avenue for bullying.
But I also live in this space of that, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm inconsiderate or because I don't know particularly how to say this correctly, but you can turn it off.
Yeah. Well,
you know,
when I say bullying, it's a different type of bullying.
Yeah.
Not the, if I say something negative about you.
Yeah.
And I'm just going in on you.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
Now, if I go into a group.
Yeah.
Like a specific group in this area.
Yeah. We don't have to get too specific. People who listen to it are going to know where we come from, and the people who don't, that they have things that are going on in their social circles that are probably happening in their town.
Right.
Rural town, USA, that's probably pretty similar.
Yeah. But if I go on there and I say something negative about you, and there's 10 people who agree with me, they're going to all come on and attack you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So now we're bullying you by...
It's 10 versus 1 instead of 1 versus 1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's
a digital mob.
Yeah.
It's a digital mob.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's a digital mob.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, that's become a norm.
Yeah.
And people think that that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's really not.
And the reason why they think it's okay is because they have this echo chamber of, they have confirmation bias on this in this echo chamber. If me and you both agree that Marvel's great, and we got 10 other people that agree that Marvel's great, we got the sole guy who's telling us how amazing Batman is, and then we start, he was a billionaire who basically worked, to bring down people who were impoverished. We can say so many different things, and this is why Marvel's better. And then now all 10 of us are ganging up on him because he liked Batman. It sounds silly to equate it to DC versus Marvel, but this is essentially how silly it can get.
Yeah, and I mean, being at the newspaper, I've dealt with that.
Yeah,
we put out a story.
Yeah,
and all we're doing is giving the fact.
Yeah, and
there have been people who attacked us.
Yeah,
because we put out the facts, and it's not 1 or 2. Yeah, it's 10 or 15.
Yeah,
and
it also doesn't help that whenever you think that God is on your side.
Yeah,
and the thing about it is that, man, I'm not truly religious, to tell you the truth. I mean, I grew up Catholic. I'm Catholic from baptism to confirmation. I'm Catholic. I haven't probably been to church since I was probably in my 20s. I'm 30 now.
Okay.
So it's been a while. But it doesn't, it doesn't bode well to make people feel, that somehow God doesn't love them for any reason, especially things that they have no control over.
Right.
And so it's not that I particularly don't believe or do believe in God. To me, it's just I haven't found my way back to any particular time and space where I want to be a part of the Catholic religion. Now, I'm not the man I was 15 minutes ago, a month ago, a year ago, so who knows? Yeah. Who knows what could happen? And
what I tell people is, your journey, you're in a place in your journey that's different from where I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And me and my brother talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
My brother is, shout out to him, my brother is into a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
My brother is very religious. He will, if he's driving.
Scripture, he knows scripture.
Yeah, he knows scripture. If he's driving and something is on his mind, he will, pray at the stoplight while we're on our way to the bar.
Yeah.
And, I always say his journey, he's in a different place in his journey than where I am.
Yeah.
I can't fault him for that. He can't fault me for that.
Yeah.
And when it's all said and done, and we have to go, I got to answer for me.
Exactly, right?
I can't answer for him.
The funny thing was, so I wouldn't say neither me or my sister are truly religious. But I when I turned I never went through an angsty phase or like a bad kid phase. I've always been kind of a square nerd. I didn't drink until I was almost 22.
Okay.
I worked at a liquor store. That's why I started drinking, because I worked at a liquor store. So, I mean, I've always kind of been a bit of a nerd, bit of a square, which isn't a bad thing. I love my journey. My journey's my own.
Nothing wrong.
But the funny thing was since I didn't go through that angsty phase in my teenage years, when I turned about maybe 20, is when I started listening to like Hitchens, Dawkins, and like the Four Horsemen of like the Four Horsemen of like reasoning, I think is what they call them. And so I listened to those guys, and it kind of made me step away from religion, and I really questioned, you know, my belief in God, and I became what I would consider myself a full-blown atheist. I wasn't even agnostic. I didn't even believe anymore.
Wow.
And then I started listening to these guys, you know, whether it was Hawkins or, you know, whether it's Hitchens or Dawkins or any of these guys, and I saw how cruel they were in their behavior towards religious people. And my mom is religious, and if anybody was to speak about her religion and make her feel inadequate or dumb or somehow, you know, less than because of her belief in God, there would be incidences where I wouldn't be able to control my disgust with them. How disgusted I am, not for the fact that they're saying what they're saying. You have every right to say what you want to say, but to be so malicious in their behavior, to treat someone, oh, well, you're an idiot or you're dumb. Well, no, sir. They are like my mom is honest in her belief in God.
Right.
She is more honest in her belief in God than I ever believe that you're honest in your belief that there isn't a God.
Right.
You know?
And
and so in that point, it brought me back to religion to a point where I was like, nobody's right.
Okay.
Everybody has the right to have doubt in their heart. And I will find my way back to God. Maybe never. Maybe sometime, but it's going to be my particular time and space. My sister's now like a full-blown agnostic. She doesn't believe or disbelieve, but now she teases me because she's like, well, I got, you know, you were the one that got me onto this whole Hitchens and Dawkins thing, and now you got a foot out the pool. What's going on here? And I'm like, well, I just, you know, I couldn't square that circle and someone just being so ugly to someone for their belief in God. You love your brother. I love my mom.
Yeah.
That their belief is their own. I gotta answer to whatever creators out there, whether it's an amorphous gas being that made everything possible and has no face, or whether it's a lion with the head of a with the head of a lion, a goat, and has like 9 wings. Whatever it is out there, I don't know, man. But whatever particular thing it is out there, you know, whether it's whether you believe in the watchman fallacy or whatever, that you know, there's no such thing as who created the watch, or however that one goes, or whether you just believe, like, to me, when someone says that in the beginning there was nothing, and they're like, well, there can't be nothing. Well, I'm like, in that nothingness, maybe you're misunderstanding the interpretation of what nothing is, you know, because in a way that in a space where there is nothing, I'm still in any given space. So yes, there may be nothing in that space, but in that space of nothing is something.
There has to be something.
Yeah, there has to be something, you know. Yeah. And then I also am one of those that, you know, whether you believe it or not, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be displaced. Where are we going?
Yeah.
Where are we going? So it's just like, we may not be going to heaven. We may not be going to hell. We may just be displaced back into earth, and maybe that conscious being that makes these meat sacks move in awkward directions and be Elias gets to live a harmonious life. And maybe if you weren't particularly harmonious with others, it's a little bit more uncomfortable. Maybe your energy was a little too negative, and now you live in that negative space, and whenever I have negative thoughts, it's because of the negativity that was displaced you know, and that's what happens, you know. That's what happens, because not every energy is positive, and not every energy is negative, you know, and that energy has to move somewhere, you know, and it gets put back into the universe, you know.
Now, I understand that.
Yeah.
But me, like, growing up, it was always, you know, religion. I grew up in church, everything like that. So in my mind, it's my deal has always been the path has been created. Yeah,
of course. I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm never denying that. Yeah. That's a great way to live. I think that, but I also think that, you know, that in that path that's being created, you can forge different paths.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
That at the end of the day,
that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. The path is there for you,
mm-hmm.
and while you're on this path, you'll be given different options.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Of where you want this path
mm-hmm.
to go, but the end result was set.
It was set in motion, right? Yeah.
It was set when you were put here.
Yeah.
It's just how you're gonna get there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's always.
And that could be anything from death.
Yeah.
The end result is death, and we all head in that same direction.
Yeah.
The end result is, and whether that death is immediate or down the line, or if it let's not even put death into it. If it's deemed in success and non-success, and but you can also make that path short, or you can make it long.
You can make it long. Yeah, it's totally up to you.
It's totally up to you. But the path is there. You're right. And that's a very very Buddhist way of thinking though as well, because or it's also the idea of the multi-universe theory, right?
Right.
Where my path is this way, and I really wanted to take this path, but I took that path. So in any given point in the universe, there's a time and space where I took both paths.
Yeah.
Because I broke off that time. I took that path, but in another time and space, I took the other path.
Yeah.
Because I had to forge this particular time and space.
Right.
Where now, who knows what's down that other road? It could be successes and it could be non-success and holding me back from what I was supposed to do. But at any given point, you're right. It's all going to lead back to where it's supposed to be.
And this is going to sound really weird. Stay with me.
I love it.
Have you seen the most recent Doctor Strange movie?
I haven't. I can't say that I kind of checked out after, I think, what was it, Spider-Man No Way Home, which was the last Spider-Man.
Yeah. Okay. So in this Doctor Strange movie,
mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert.
It's been out for a while. Yeah.
He sees a different Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he's told, whenever you have a dream, that's not you.
Yeah.
That's you in another universe.
Yeah.
And just after that, and it's really weird. My wife, she's like, something.
I kind of believe that what you say is where at any given point when you're dreaming, you're not so much in your body anymore, but you're in the body of someone else who is basically you're feeding into that antenna at a given point. You're feeding into that frequency because now your body is able to pull itself into this other plane.
This other one,
yeah.
So when you were saying that about you got the two paths and you took this path, and somewhere else you're in this, you're on this other path.
Yeah.
That's what the way I see it after seeing that movie, it really kind of clicked to me. That's what your dream is. You know what path you took.
Mm-hmm.
To find out what path you didn't take, that's what you're seeing in your dream.
Yeah, of course. I like that. Yeah.
So you might see things.
When my buddy Josh is here and he's way more into Buddhism. He's more on top of it than I am. He went to college for philosophy. Very smart gentleman. Partakes in psychedelics and really opens his mind and his third eye to the necessary things. But what he always says is if I'm thinking, give me your name again.
Jason.
If Jason tells me that he wants to open up one kick-ass restaurant, and he tells me that I want to do it within the next year, and all my negative mind is thinking is that I don't think Josh is going to be able to do this. I don't think he's going to be able to do this. Well, what I'm doing is I'm putting out these negative thoughts, and then whether they're spoken or unspoken, the thing is that those negative thoughts have basically
they've been transferred over to me.
Exactly.
Even without you saying them.
And now it's up to you and the people that you talk to make sure to stay positive and tell. Of course you can do that.
Yeah.
I know you can. Anytime. Whether I met you that day or I've known you for 10 years. I've known people and I'll have conversations with them and I'll be like, and when the conversation goes into what they want to do,
right,
I never tell them that seems impossible. I believe in you. So even if there's no one out there that doesn't believe in you, you got someone who believes you can do it.
Yeah.
I don't care if anybody tells you I don't believe you can do it. You come back to me for positive reinforcement because I know you can do it. You want to open up a skateboard shop, you want to open up an ice cream thing, you want to do anything. You want to make a movie and you don't know where to start. I believe you can do it.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, and you're not going to know where to do it, and you're not going to know where to start. But you know what you can do? You can find those necessary resources.
Right.
You can come to me and be like, I don't know where to start. And I'll be like, well, let's go to YouTube and find out.
Yeah.
Let's talk to the necessary people. I got resources. I know people who are in the movie industry. Let's see. The worst thing they could tell you is you're bothering me, and I don't have time for you. But you know what? Time is on my side because I can ask you next Tuesday, and I can ask you the week after that until you're finally fed up with me and you're like, you got 5 minutes. And then that's 5 minutes that I didn't have before,
Right.
I talk to anybody who's in the restaurant business because I love the food service industry. What are you doing to make the food service industry better? What are you doing? I want to know. Not because I want to open up a restaurant, because I'm just curious. I want to know, what you do, how you cook. I love to cook. What can you teach me? This is what I like to do. And maybe it seems inconsiderate, but I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just saying, hey, I like to cook it this way.
Share an idea.
Yeah, I love that you cook it that way, man. I'm going to try it next week, and
right.
it's not poo-pooing their idea, but it's essentially saying, man, that's a great way of doing it. You know what? I'm going to try it that way next time.
Yeah. And a lot of times that's all people need is that one person to say.
And that's why, you really try and be that person as much as possible whenever they're like, man, I'm thinking about going back to school. I know you can go back to school. Yeah. And whether you got anybody telling you, I don't know if you should do it, okay, well, they don't think you should do it, but I know you should do it. If that's what you want to do, then I know you should do it. Come back to me in 2 weeks, I'll tell you the same thing. Hey, I'm not really feeling like it's my time. Well, if you don't feel it's your time, that's all right, but I know you came up to me a week ago and you said you want to do it, so I still believe in you. Yeah. Find that place back. Find your way back to that place. If it takes a little while, then it's not meant to be right now, but I know you're going to do it.
It's going to happen when it's supposed to.
I don't know if my sister wants me to tell her this story. If she doesn't really listen to the podcast anyways, but hopefully she doesn't get mad. But I got her a sewing machine,
Okay.
And she didn't touch it for like a year. She didn't touch it.
Wow.
And, and I got it for her. And I didn't bug her about it. I didn't tell her, why aren't you making stuff with it? I don't see you using it. Why? Because I got it for her. That's all. Yeah. I believe she can do it.
Right.
I know she's going to use it. She just doesn't want to use it right now. Yeah, her mind is cluttered. Her mind is cluttered with more important things than touching that sewing machine. Yeah. And then she made COVID masks when it counted. Mm. She made all my nephews Halloween costumes with it.
Okay.
She's made stuff for herself. Now she uses it all the time. I ask her if she wants me to buy her a new one. She's like, why would I want to do that? I got a perfectly good one right here. It's just like, don't underestimate people because they're not doing it on your timeline. Yeah. That's not your timeline, Yeah. I didn't know I was going to be here. This is on my timeline. Nobody asked me if I wanted to do podcasts, and I didn't even know I wanted to do podcasts. And I didn't know I was going to speak with a great human being like you today. But that path was already forged. We're meant to be in this park talking about silly stuff like a parade that doesn't matter and inconsequential stuff that at the end of the day, what should really be happening is that these people should know that, man, we all love each other. We're all made from particles of the universe. We're all going to end up in the same dirt nap at the end of when the time comes. Yep. And the worst thing we can do is make it harder on people. Yeah. Make it harder on those individuals that are already having a hard time. Yeah. That are questioning their whether they're right or whether they're wrong, and at the end of the
whether they belong.
Yeah, whether they belong, then that's important too. So that's why I like talking to these people because I want them to make sure that the same thing with whether you want to pursue a path in some sort of endeavor. I love you. Yeah, I'll love you tomorrow. Yeah. I'll love you. Until my dying breath. So the thing is if you're not getting those necessary love and affection that you're getting from these people who are telling you that you are somehow wrong, or you somehow your existence is an inconvenience, it's not to me. Yeah. Right. I love you. Yeah. Come to me. Come talk to me.
That's how I am with my daughter.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter, she is very, very ambitious. She wants to be involved in everything.
That's great.
And
it's great, but it's scary.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, hey, if that's what you want to do, I'm 100% behind.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, let's do it.
Yeah, and then you also, but the thing is that, and no offense to, hey man, you're gonna hear this and you're gonna hear it from a Hispanic person. You're gonna have a conversation that my dad had with me, that you had with your daughter. We don't have luxuries that white people got. Yeah. You got to be careful. Yeah. Your voice is scarier than it is than other people. Yeah. Your mere existence is a threat in certain situations.
Yeah. And that's something that I've told. I've told her. I've told my wife. Yeah. I've said this to my mom. I said I am America's nightmare.
Yeah. Right.
Because
an outspoken, charismatic black man. Educated black man.
And that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Because.
And also, you're yelling right now. Why are you yelling? Yeah. Well, no, I'm passionate. Yeah. I'm not yelling. I'm passionate
about what I'm doing.
Passionate about what I'm saying. Oh, well, you just seem like you're upset. Well, if you were coming at me with the same tone, I would be like, I don't think you're yelling. You're passionate.
Right.
The thing is that, like I said, fear is an amazing tool. Mm-hmm. And it's easy for people to use that fear to make people, all it takes is one person to say that, man, I think he's yelling. It's like, I think he is kind of yelling. Yeah. And then now you got 4 people who are like, why are you upset? And then you're gaslit into thinking you're upset. Like, am I upset?
Yeah.
What am I saying wrong? Do I have an attitude? Like, do you not? I always joke with people because, I've been in situations where I've been gaslit that I've been yelling, It's just like, but I don't yell because I squeak. I squeak like I'm a teenager. Yeah, my voice cracks. So I'm like, I honestly don't yell, but I'm also well spoken, and I also make people not feel very educated whenever they try and come to me with things that I know they're wrong. So I question them. I'm inquisitive, and then they feel threatened, and then they're like, the first thing they come to is like, why are you so angry? Or like, why are you yelling at me? And I'm like, I'm really not. This is my tone of voice.
Yeah.
I said, but you're ill-equipped to come to me with some sort of logic, so the best thing you can do is make me seem like I'm angry or yelling.
Like you've stepped out of line.
Exactly.
And they feel threatened.
Mm-hmm.
I can say one of the things that my mom says she loves about me.
Well, of course, but but one of the many characteristics that comes with the action figure that is you.
Yeah, she says you can tell somebody off without them even knowing until later.
Yeah.
And
they'll take 10 steps and be like, I think he told me to go screw myself.
Yeah. and the first time she said that, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I went home and, I had kind of gotten into it with somebody and I kind of done the whole thing. It was like, yeah, okay, well, I understand what you're saying, but if you look at it this way, it's this way and this and this and that. And then they called me back later and I was like, you really said that to me? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
But it didn't dawn on me that I told him off and then just went on about my way. And
I was always told that I can't hide my anger with people. Like if I don't like you, I have very expressive face, and so I'm very I guess I'm not well at hiding it. So my mom will be like, you don't like that person. I'm like, I didn't say anything. She's like, I can see it in your face. You need to learn how to control that. And I'm like, but I didn't say. And she's like, but it's in your face. It's the way you present yourself. You're not smiling. You're not happy. You're not expressive. You're not even talking. Like this person is trying to have a full blown conversation with you, and you're not giving them a word. You're not giving them an inch. And it's just
keeping them short.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I guess that's something I got to work on because it's like now. And then I go back and I'm like, is it something that I do? Am I looking kind of funny? But also I'm the kind of person that doesn't really buy into the business of happiness. I hate that.
What do you mean by that?
So, I'm a happy person when it counts. I'm not always happy. I'm not a very happy person. I'm a loving person. I smile a lot, but I'm not very happy. But the thing is that commercial culture has sold an idea of what happiness should be.
Right.
It should be, it should be constant, or it should be never waning. And the thing is, that's very unhealthy. Yeah. I think that you can just have a normal day. You don't have to be happy all the time. That's equated to clinical depression. You don't have to be happy all the time. I don't have to be smiling all the time.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, and
it's unrealistic.
It's unrealistic, yes. And you know, and so to me, it's just like I use it sparingly. I try and be, you know, try and express my, you know, I try and be happy when it counts. I want to really experience that happiness. I don't want it to be something that is sold to me by Disney,
right,
or, you know, Spectrum or any kind of commercialization. Right. I don't want a Happy Meal to be happy. I want to cook with my family and have them by my side and us working together. Yeah, that makes me happy.
Right.
I don't need a commercialization that's happy. I don't need a Carnival cruise. Right. You know, or Bud Light to make me happy. You know.
And with that, to me, these things are sold as this is what makes you happy, but it's really not.
Yeah, exactly.
So you say like a Carnival cruise.
Yeah.
Going on a Carnival cruise, no, that's not gonna make me happy.
Yeah.
Going and hanging with my wife, that's gonna make me happy.
Exactly, right?
We can be on a cruise. We can be walking around the block.
Exactly, right?
That's gonna make me happy.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is like I'm not gonna be, you know, like I said, I'm not. It's not that I'm not always happy. It's just that I don't want it to feel like it's commercialized in the sense like oh man, this product's just gonna make you happy, or this particular thing is gonna make you happy. Straightened teeth, losing weight, being a little bit more, you know, being skinnier, having a different shade of color on your skin, right? You know, wearing the right shoes. You know, none of that stuff is particularly gonna make you happy. What you have to do is you have to be comfortable in your own skin, who you are, and then you have people out there who don't make it easy. Yeah, you know, and then that's the thing, is that when we come back to it, is that we have to understand that although you may not understand it, although you may even be scared of it, you may not even know you're scared of it, and that's what's really the sad part about it is that you don't understand that this is a fear you have. Right. You don't understand it. You're scared of it. But you know, the best thing I've ever seen come out of this, my dad is almost 60 years old. And he's probably also not going to like me talking about him on the podcast. But you know what? They got to listen to it to stop me. Okay. So, my dad was going through a situation where his brother-in-law was basically having an issue with the lifestyle that one of his kids was going through. And he goes, I don't know if I can love him anymore. I don't know how I feel about him anymore. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know where I stand. Like, I'm having trouble. Like, what do I do? And it's not that he doesn't. It's just like he was having a crisis of conscience because he didn't know what to do. And the fact that my father could say, this is your blood. This is the person who at any given point you never give up on. Right. You may not understand them. You may be nervous, but at the end of the day, you love them unconditionally. And the best thing that you can do is make sure that they're healthy and they're moving in a positive direction, you know? Right. And I think that if we can have anybody, that's someone who's 60 years old, who's lived on this earth for 60 years, who's gone through not being able to use the front door, who's understood that Jerry's was 50 and 50, who's understood that, like, you know, people talking to him like he was because he was Hispanic, he didn't have as much authority as a man than other people did. If he can still come to another person and let them know, nah, man, like, I love her, him, them, they unconditionally because I love them, not because of who they are, not because they're family, but because I just do. You know, that's important. Now, my dad's 60 years old. You don't find too many 60-year-old men who do that.
That are like that. Yeah,
you know?
Not at all.
You know, my dad's come out and told me, like I said, I'm a hetero cis Hispanic. Like, I don't care. As long as they, them, him, she loves you, I'll love you. I don't understand what the problem is. Just don't hurt other people and try and, you know, don't hurt yourself, don't hurt other people. Love unconditionally, and that's all you can ask for, you know? Yeah. And like I said, you don't find too many 60-year-old men who are willing to do that. You just don't. I mean, it's just not.
You don't find too many 60-year-old people, period.
Yeah.
Like that. And it's all about, you know, the way they were raised.
Yeah.
And the way they passed it on.
Well, and the way that they stepped away from that.
Right.
You know, my father stepped away from that.
Right.
You know, he was stepped away from those toxic traits. He didn't allow those toxic behaviors, that toxic behavior to enter into the household. Neither did my mother. My mother and my father didn't allow that They didn't speak about it. Maybe they weren't as they weren't adversarial in the people who brought it around, but they also didn't allow it in the house. You know, you respected everybody, you loved everybody. You know, you were
Right.
and you know my dad doesn't probably know what the LGBTQ plus community does or what the or what every letter stands for, but he loves unconditionally.
Right.
You know, and he allows those people to be safe in our house. He allows those people to, to exist and cohabitate, because at the end of the day, it doesn't affect him.
Yeah.
He's still able to play Call of Duty and eat barbecue. The man's happy.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way I figure it. You know,
Right.
So it's just like, don't and that's the best thing we can ask for, is people to be a little bit more understanding. Just a little. You don't have to. The thing is that you don't have to let it tread on you. You don't have to let it, change your behavior. If you want to stay a Christian, no one's telling you not to be Christian. If you want to still, trad behavior and trad lifestyle and be traditional, no one's telling you can't.
You can do that.
You can do that.
You don't have to have. We don't all have to have the same beliefs to get along.
Exactly. And the thing is that a lot of that can be stemmed with poor behavior on both sides.
Right.
Where it's just like, no, the buck stops here. I want you to understand everything about me and accept me. Well, no, because you're not accepting him.
Yeah.
And that's a clash of titans, and that's an immovable object and an unstoppable force.
Right.
And it's just like neither side is going to come to consensus, and the worst thing that can happen is it can divide a complete culture, complete culture divide.
A complete community.
A complete community, yeah.
And it's really a two-way street.
Yeah.
You can't just talk.
And
you have to be willing to
Yeah,
listen.
and the thing is that it's sad when you find out that it takes, like, it's always sad whenever you find out that, you can only communicate with family when there's a death in the family.
Right.
And it's even worse when you can't communicate as people until there's extreme strife within the community.
Right.
And nobody wants it to get to that point. We want people to be understanding. We want people, but it's, like I said, it's very difficult because these people don't want to find common ground.
Yeah.
And each road that they're creating has good intentions and leads to the same place.
Right. Right. And that's on both sides.
It is, and it's and the thing is that, and both sides seem, the worst part about it is like you said, when we're people like us, which
Right.
like my father, or like my mother, or like me or you, where we're maybe not neutral. Maybe neutral is a little bit too ugly of a word, but where we don't have a dog in the fight. We don't particularly have an interest in the fight, and then we become collateral damage because we have to find out at any given point where we stand, and maybe we don't particularly agree with the trad behavior, and maybe we don't particularly agree with all the behavior in the LGBTQ plus community, whether it's just the way that they're, handling the situation on both sides, and then now we have to somehow find common ground and be that voice of reason, where we're particularly the ones that are like, hey, y'all guys need to discuss this in a proper way.
We're expected to pick a side.
Yeah.
And when you don't pick a side, people think you're against them.
Exactly.
Oh, if you're not with us,
you
must be with them.
Yeah.
You must be against us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because when you are neutral and you're right in the middle, and at the newspaper, we're right in the middle.
Yeah.
And one side is thinking, well, if they're not with us, they're against us.
Yeah.
But if the other side is thinking the same thing, where do we stand? And
it's a Cold War, and there's a standoff, and you got to find, and the thing is that, I mean, honestly, I think people know where I stand, and if they don't, they can come to me and ask me. I'm an open book. I'm not going to say on here exactly where I stand,
right?
Because it's no one's particular business. This is a forum where everybody's welcome.
Right.
Everybody's welcome on SUYL, from the most trad, unlikable human being can be welcome on here. I won't, I don't want you to spout off Kanye talking points.
Yeah. Oh man.
But you're welcome on here if you can behave yourself. I don't want, like I said, I don't want Kanye talking points, but I definitely understand that. And my thing is that whether you know me or not, or whether you're around me, the sun is the best disinfectant. Okay. And knowing thy enemy is the best thing to do.
Yeah.
I've always thought that. Like, I mean, know thy enemy. Know who you're fighting against. You know,
Right.
respect them, know where they're coming from, understand them, because they're the ones you're fighting against. You know,
Right.
do not underestimate them.
Yeah.
Let them speak. You know, I would much rather know where someone stands out in the open than them to harbor it and hide it. I want to know where you stand. If you don't like blacks, if you don't like Hispanics, if you don't like the LGBTQ plus community, don't come to me and hide in a veil of of being a sheep and a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Right.
And then when push comes to shove, I find out who you really are, and then I'm put in a predicament because I've surrounded myself around you because you're not willing to be honest in your convictions. Right. That's the worst thing you can be. I'm honest in my convictions. I love everyone.
Yeah, and that's
and
this is something I've always said too. Don't be fake around me.
Yeah.
If you don't like me in front of this group of people, don't like me in front of this group of people.
Exactly.
If you don't like me today, don't like me tomorrow.
Exactly.
If you don't like me all the time.
Yeah, right.
I will respect you more
exactly
for that.
Yeah.
Than for you to act like you like me in front of this group. I'll give you an example. I won't say any
names, but
like
just
that.
examples are work.
There was an event. There was a meeting, and there was a public figure here, and this public figure, he and I didn't get along, and it's very clear that he and I didn't get along.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it. I'm still gonna do my job. He's still doing his job.
Yeah, you're gonna be respectful in adults because you're in a given space where it demands or commands respect for both parties.
Right. But when we saw each other, there was no. A lot of times there was nothing cordial. He didn't speak to me.
Yeah.
I didn't go out of my way to speak to him or anything like that. But then there was a meeting over in the church on the south side of Taylor.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of black people there.
Yeah.
When I walked in, he grabbed me and hugged me. Hey, how are you? And
you were the only kind-faced enemy in a group full of strangers.
And I was like, what is this all about? And the next time I saw him, he sat across the table from me at an event and didn't say two words.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you didn't like me then, don't do it in front of this group.
Yeah.
Do it all the time. Because I made it very clear to him.
Yeah.
I only talk to you because I have to.
Yeah.
Because it's my job.
Because we're in this space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't like you.
Yeah.
Like, personally, I don't like you.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna like you here.
I mean, in all honesty, if we're gonna get real, I left my job because of the fact that people didn't like me. A person didn't like me.
Wow.
I left my job. I'm working in a new spot in a new place because this particular person, who I will not say this on air. I will let you know after this is over. Who, for all intents and purposes, I would be the one person who would probably be on their side as any given human being, and still made my life miserable.
Wow.
But am I rude to them? Am I angry at them? No, because I don't care if you don't like me.
Yeah.
I don't care if you don't like me. I'm gonna be the same guy I am to everybody. I'm gonna be respectful.
Right.
I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be smiling, and I'm gonna make you feel worse because you're gonna expect a response.
Yeah.
The worst thing that I could do is the worst thing that I did was step away from the situation and give them the opportunity to think that they won, but also for my mental health, I had to leave.
Right. Right. And that's understandable.
So do you feel like rapping for us? You got it in you?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Get your coat and make sure you rap tight. Cause this verse will make you think Slick ain't rap right. They ain't seen me in years since say Slick still rap right. Boy, since 9-6, Slick been rapping tight, alright? Still burning tracks like rubber. My bars are fire, but I'm cold in the motherfucker. Open my third eye and locking this ability. Let me take this moment to show you some versatility. Sub-zero flow, one person, your heart, your mind, your body, your soul. I put it together, then put on whoever think they got that nuts to be bold. Still holding it down while I'm breaking the ground like how the story unfold. Been bringing the real and I'm bringing it still as a skill that never gets old. Man, I still do this thing with ease. If you drink it in too fast, you might catch a brain freeze. Understand, I done things you wouldn't believe. Went to hell, froze it over, and then was forced to leave. But I don't chase styles, cause that's a bitch, dude. I mean a bitch move, yeah, bitch, I'm aiming at you. Use my platform to get at me, you caught the vapors. I signed you on the air. Boy, I got your papers, I ain't looking for beef, but if you cook it, I'ma eat. Have a seat, your agenda for today is defeat. Ah, man, yeah, I'll stop it right there.
Got it. All right, man. Awesome freestyling there. This was SUYL. Why don't you give them a place to find you?
Oh man, Jason Hennington. I'm on Facebook. You can see me. Actually, my profile picture is me performing downtown.
That's right.
Yeah. So you can catch me on I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Jason Hennington. Like, I don't have any music or anything up.
No, man, you're good.
But
you got music up now because I'm gonna make a music video for you.
Oh, okay.
I did it for Kelly McRae.
Okay.
So you're gonna have a little bit of music up today.
Okay.
In the next couple of days. So.
All right.
Much
that
appreciated for
good.
the freestyle. This was SUYL. This was a very honest conversation with a very intelligent human being.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out to SUYL. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for having me on.
All right.
Shut up, you listen to my monkey mouth. There's a companion when you got pun on the canoa route. Hopped in a portal and got in a fight. Elias knocked him out. Bow, Naruto fighting style. Bow, UFC he tapped out. Bow, we win, we get crowned. Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.